Hi everybody, my name is Leah and for most of my life I have suffered with agoraphobia, severe panic disorder and health anxiety. In fact, I didn't leave my house for over 9 whole months at one point due to this. But today I want to share with you how fitness completely changed my life, not just physically but mentally. So my anxiety started when I had an allergic reaction to penicillin. My throat closed up, I had an anaphylactic shock. I couldn't breathe. I was around 10 years old at this point. And then after that, whenever I felt breathless or there was a moment where I felt like I couldn't breathe as normal, it would trigger a panic attack. I'm now 31, so over 20 years ago, anxiety was never spoken about. Anxiety wasn't really a thing. Obviously, I wasn't aware of what was happening to me. I didn't know why this was happening to me. I genuinely thought every time that this was happening that I was going to die. This then spiralled completely out of control. Whenever anything was wrong with me whatsoever, I thought the worst. I didn't know what panic attacks were. I didn't know that was happening to me. I couldn't go to school. I kept getting sent home. This went on for so many years before I was actually diagnosed with agoraphobia and severe panic disorder and health anxiety. From year 9 in high school, I actually had to get home tutored because it got that bad. I couldn't go into school. Before this point, my attendance was shocking. Just the thought of leaving the house petrified me. And it wasn't the thought of leaving the house, it was what would happen to me if I left the house. My main triggers were big open spaces, bright spaces, loads of people, bridges, places where I felt like I couldn't escape from. I literally couldn't do anything by myself. I couldn't leave the house alone at all. And like I said, at my worst point, I didn't actually leave the house whatsoever for 9 whole months. This went on for such a long time. Years and years and years and years and years. And sometimes I'd get a little bit better, but then something had happened and I'd just go straight back down to where I was. I went to therapy, I saw numerous different people, and when they were describing to me what was happening, it was like I knew that was what was happening to me, but I didn't know how to control it. In the end, my therapy sessions actually made me worse because the fear of leaving the house to go to the session was making me 10 times worse. So they ended. This just went on for years and years and years and years. It just kept spiraling out of control. I was put on antidepressants at the age of 15. Antidepressants did help in certain ways, but not in every way. They took the edge off feeling like I was actually going to die when I left the house. However, they never fixed the issue. The panic attacks were still happening. When I reached the age of finishing high school, I decided I couldn't carry on. I knew that I couldn't be like this forever, like it was no life. I wasn't living a childhood. So I made the decision to go to college. Now, the college that I went to wasn't a massive college. I only chose one subject and I just had to go into one room. It was with a small group of people, the same people every single day. I remember my first day, thinking back now, my mum had to take me in to college, into the room. I was crying my eyes out. I was having a panic attack. It was horrendous. Luckily, I met some really, really nice people there, and honestly, without them people, I wouldn't have been able to get through any of it at all. I battled through. My attendance, I think, was something like 65%. It wasn't great, but it was better than sitting in the house. When I finished college, I passed somehow. When I finished college, I then got a job as a waitress. Again, the amount of times I was ringing in sick, it was just, yeah, I wasn't reliable, let's put it that way. I then had a child at the age of 20, and in certain ways this changed my life in the way that I had to then think about somebody else and not just myself. And surprisingly, my health anxiety, I thought it would spiral out of control with worry about my child, but my head seemed to click with her. I can't really explain that, to be honest. I had my baby, my anxiety back there was just still, it's terrifying. I just wasn't living a life. It wasn't fair on my child. I relied massively on family to help out. My headspace wasn't good at all. And I just kind of carried on going through life like this for years. I was never happy. I was always petrified of doing things. I could never leave the house alone. I couldn't even go into a shop without having a panic attack. You know, it just wasn't fair. I did always make sure that my child never saw any of this. I never put myself into positions with her where this could happen. And I always found I did deal with things a lot better when I was with my child. And I think, again, because I knew I had to put a brave face on for her, and I couldn't let her see how weak I was and how scared I was, because I didn't want her to feel the same way. Because at the end of the day, I did know that it was all in my mind and it wasn't actually happening. It's just so hard when you reach that situation, you know, you get somewhere and you feel out of breath, or I just wouldn't, when I was with my child, I just wouldn't have put myself into any position whatsoever where I knew that that could potentially happen, because I needed to protect her, you know, and I was responsible for her at the end of the day. With loads and loads and loads of help from my family, we battled through, you know, she's had an amazing life, always been loved. And then at the age of 26, I had another child. I had a little boy, and again, even back then mentally, but I'd never known any different. I'd never known what it was like to be level-headed, you know, to not feel the way I'd felt for so many years of my life. And then I had my little boy, you know, I was just plodding along with life, you know, never really went out to social occasions, never, you know, if I did, I'd have extreme anxiety to the point where I thought I was going to die. I thought everyone was going to close in on me. Yeah, just really, really, really bad time of my life. And then just to top it off, lockdown happened when my little boy was 4 weeks old. Now, I know lockdown screwed a lot of people mentally, like the fear that was, you know, the fear that was added to us all. That really, really did bring back my health anxiety, like severely, to the point where I was petrified. And they were telling us, obviously, we weren't allowed to leave the house. Now, telling somebody that's agoraphobic with severe health anxiety that you're not allowed to leave the house because it's dangerous, just literally, honestly, oh God, it really... Oh God, I can't even think. Honestly, I find it really hard to talk about how low I was. I wasn't working. Obviously, I hadn't worked for a long time due to my anxiety. Oh God, it was absolutely horrendous. Like the worst time of my life. I was so low. I don't think anybody realised how low I was. And yeah, I just knew that I had two beautiful children that were healthy and happy, and if I continued the way that I was, they wouldn't have had the life that they deserved. Oh, sorry. Crazy. Give me a moment. Anyway, I had gained a lot of weight. Like, I was classed as obese, and I knew that my body image was affecting me mentally massively as well. You know, I couldn't even look in a mirror. I was making myself feel sick. I just got myself into such a bad way. I knew something needed to change. Like, I couldn't carry on living like that, the way that I was. It wasn't fair. My children weren't living the life they should have lived with, you know, their mum just wasn't, you know, capable of a lot of things, and it was just such a bad time in my life. So I decided that something needed to happen, something needed to change, and I followed this girl who I knew from a few years back, and she was a personal trainer, well, she still is, and she was doing challenges, but they were online challenges, so I could do everything from home. I didn't actually need to leave the house. My physical image was causing me so much anxiety, like, you know, so I made the decision to go down this route to lose weight and to build muscle, you know, and hope that helped me. I had no idea how much it would have an impact on my mental health. Absolutely no idea. So yeah, I went for it. I was like, I'm going for it, I'm doing it. So I started the 90-day challenge. I sorted my nutrition out, I was eating better. I got myself some dumbbells and a barbell set and resistance bands so I could do everything at home. And I did this for about 6 months in the house. And I reached a point where my coach was like, because after the 90 days I continued with her as an online coach. And after this point she was like, right, you need to get yourself in the gym. You know, there's only so much you can get done from home. So I decided to do it. And I was like, honestly, I never thought I'd be able to. And the thing was, because I looked online and I figured the gym out. It was a gym that I'd been to years before, so I had a little bit of experience there anyway. However, I looked at the map of the gym and knew where everything was that I needed to use, and I was just going into the gym and doing the exact same program that I've been doing at home, so I didn't have to use any different machines, anything like that, because otherwise I just wouldn't have gone in. So I just needed to walk through them doors, get through those doors, and go straight to the equipment that I knew that I needed. You know, get that done, get out. There was days where I couldn't. There was days where I turned up and I was like, this is too much, it's too much. I went home, but a pattern started to form, and I realised, even if I pushed myself to get through those doors, and even if I could just do a little bit, the fact that I went through the doors and I got that done, the rest of the day I would feel so much better. Whereas if I didn't and I caved at the last minute and went home, I would feel guilty then for the foreseeable until the next time I force myself to get through those doors. And you need to push yourself, you need to push your boundaries. You're never going to grow if you stay comfortable. And in fact, I wasn't comfortable. It's crazy how it works. But yeah, I did it, and then I got a bit more confident as it went on, and I started obviously using different machines with all video demos, etc., that my online coach provided me with. And yeah, my mindset just changed completely. Honestly, I can't explain. I didn't have any idea when I started that it would benefit my mental health at all. Anyway, I carried on and continued, and over time my mindset started to change around every other aspect in life. My relationship with other people improved because my mindset was better. Everything, literally everything. Eating better obviously is a massive thing anyway, because I either wasn't eating or I was eating loads of rubbish. It was terrible time. Alcohol as well, that's another thing I will touch on another video, because I know it's a lot of people turn to alcohol, so that's something I'm going to cover. However, I continued with my journey, and I finally reached a point in my life where I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this for a living. Like, I want to work, like, which I never ever thought I'd ever say. I never ever thought I'd hear myself say I want to work ever in my life. And I told my coach, and she was like, yes, go for it. Like, you've been through the journey, you've been through the mental health journey, you've the fat loss journey, the muscle building journey, and yeah, I was just like, yeah, I'm doing it. So I did it. I bloody did it. And now I get to do it for a living. I get to help other women, you know, on their fitness journeys. And so many people don't realise that the mental health benefits to fitness. It's honestly, fitness is therapy. It's crazy. So if this resonates with you, and you know, you're currently looking for a way out, you're suffering, you're struggling, you know, you feel like there isn't a way out, there absolutely is. I promise you. I would not have believed you if you'd have told me back at that moment where that time, the worst part of my life where I didn't leave the house for 9 months, if you'd have told me I was even sat here filming this right now, I'd have been like, absolutely no way. There's no way I'd ever be able to even sit in front of a camera, never mind, you know, help other women in the position that I was in back then. From panic attacks to fight and flight, mindset, journaling, I'm going to cover everything. The little steps that I took in more detail to help others, or hopefully help others that are currently suffering. But please know that you are not alone, and it won't be like this forever.